Do you ever wonder why, even though you start the day with good intentions, you reach the end, look back and think, where the hell has the day gone? This isn't an accident, but is due to energy leaks that are quietly draining your time and energy. And in this video, I'm going to go over 5 different types so you know exactly where you're losing your time. I'm going to start with some more obvious things and then go on to some categories that people usually don't connect to their time and energy, but are silent killers. My name's Eddie and my mission is helping guys build a lifestyle where they have true freedom while still hitting their goals. For me, that meant going from a 9 to 5 to moving to Brazil and having time every day for the beach, jiu-jitsu and surfing while still staying on top of things. And your own version of this is more attainable than you think once you stop leaking your time and energy. So let's get into the leaks, and this first one, digital leaks, is the most obvious one for most guys. And you're probably aware of 50% of the problem, but might have never thought to blame the things that make up the other half. So the obvious half is things like reels, stories, YouTube rabbit holes, and you've probably tried the usual fixes, deleting apps, setting screen time limits, but still can't get out of this loop. And the reason for this is something that I go into more detail in this video here. And the truth is, these platforms are built by some of the smartest people on earth to hold your attention as long as possible. So it is hard, but it's a battle you need to win if you want to take control of your time. The other 50% is more dangerous because it's things that you're told are productive, checking email constantly, having Slack or WhatsApp sitting open in the background, scrolling LinkedIn, Googling something random whilst you're waiting for AI to reply, firing random questions into ChatGPT every time there's a gap. And there's a few big problems with this. The obvious one is focus. When you're constantly checking things and switching tasks, you never enter deep work. But it also causes something most guys don't clock, which I call the phantom busy day. You keep yourself busy with all these surface level tasks, but subconsciously avoid doing the things that require more effort and you lose track of time. Other common digital leaks include things like checking the news, stock markets, sports scores and updates. I had a client who would check Bitcoin prices multiple times every day and then would fall into these loops of doom scrolling about it and getting anxious, and then would lose control of his day and then ironically complain afterwards that he didn't have time to do things. And things like this happen for 2 main reasons. The first one is mental residue. We all know the feeling where you listen to a catchy song and it gets stuck in your head for hours and then your mind keeps going back to it. And this exact same thing happens with digital leaks. You look at random things on social media and your mind keeps drifting back to it when you're trying to focus. The second one is what I call the mental hangover. When you spend a long time on screens, you almost always feel flat and foggy afterwards and your willpower takes a hit. And then more often than not, you fall into scrolling, Netflix, or other forms of passive entertainment. And what was intended to be 10 minutes turns into hours. It's like fighting against a current that you've created yourself. And this brings us on to the next category, which might be just as draining, but in a completely different way. And it's something that most of us are guilty of, but often aren't aware of: mental leaks. So think of your brain as a phone battery. It can only process a certain amount of information and energy before it needs to recharge. So if you leave your phone playing on a random video in the background, the battery is going to drain faster. And in the case of your brain, the videos playing in the background are thought loops, often negative, that just run automatically. Things like overthinking, overanalyzing, fixating on things out of your control. And these things seem harmless, but drain our energy for one big reason. Our brains don't know the difference between a real problem and an imagined one. So every time you start obsessing with these things, your body responds as if there's an actual threat in front of you, and you go into this subtle stress and high alert mode, releasing cortisol and adrenaline and burning your energy. Also, if your energy is going into overthinking or ruminating, that same energy can't be channeled into the things that actually matter. You can't do both at once. And it also leaves the mental hangover I was talking about. You drain your energy needlessly and end up spending hours on the couch, watching TV, scrolling, or even using substances as a way to switch off. And as with all of these leaks, the enemy here is autopilot living and not being self-aware. It's absolutely crucial to be able to catch these thought patterns in real time. Notice when you're getting too much in your head, and then this next part is key. Take immediate action to get out of your head and into your body by doing an activity that forces you to be present. So moving on to number 3, and quickly I wanted to let you know that I've built a free quiz that scores you on each of these leaks so you can see exactly where you're bleeding your time and energy. It takes just 2 minutes and the link's in the description. And if you resonate with this content, subscribe for more. So this next one often catches guys off guard: social leaks, because we're constantly told that socializing is great, we should be doing more of it. And this is true, we definitely should, but if done in the wrong way, this can become a big energy leak for two different ways. The first way is something that none of us want to admit, and again, often aren't aware of: performing socially. And this can happen in a few different ways. Caring too much about what other people think, so you monitor your own behavior. Trying to give off a certain image, people pleasing, chasing other people's approval, and so on. And if you do have any of these issues, it can seriously drain your energy, and I'll explain why in a second. But the first thing is, be really honest with yourself. If you do have any of these things, it's really common and nothing to be ashamed about. I certainly did, and I'm glad I addressed them. And in terms of energy, it works like this. Every time you do these things, part of your brain is running in the background. You're monitoring yourself, managing how you come across instead of actually just being present. And because the stakes seem high, your brain goes into a subtle threat mode and it ends up burning energy without you realizing. The second leak is using socializing in a completely different way as a way to fill time and avoid questioning yourself. Drinking during the week, talking more about other people's lives instead of focusing on your own, constantly being around people to avoid being by yourself. Also the obvious one, being around people that bring you up versus those who bring you down. So socializing is something that can energize you and massively improve the quality of your life, but if you're doing it wrong, it can keep you in this negative cycle. So this next one is one that most guys roll their eyes at and don't want to hear, but ignore it at your own peril because it's a genuine game changer for energy, clarity, and motivation. So actually it's two things, and the first one is one that a lot of guys do on autopilot and are even told is good: ejaculating constantly, multiple times a week, sometimes every day, even more, and assuming that it just costs you nothing. And here's how it actually costs you. Right after you finish, your body releases prolactin, which is the chemical responsible for that flat, an unmotivated feeling afterwards. But this isn't even the main problem, which is what it's doing to your brain. When you watch porn and constantly give in to this impulse to ejaculate, you start to lose control over your impulses in general, and you train yourself to seek short-term dopamine. And this transfers to other areas of your life because you've conditioned yourself with the strongest impulse you have. So it means that when you feel the urge to check your phone, you give in more easily, you procrastinate more, watch TV, and so on. And the common pattern that I see in guys is as follows: they watch porn, ejaculate, and then because they feel drained afterwards, they end up falling into things like scrolling, watching TV, and wasting more time. It has this negative snowball effect. The second habit is chasing women just for validation. Now, having a girlfriend or even dating around is awesome, but it depends entirely on why you're doing it. And if we're being honest, including myself in the past, a lot of guys do it to fill a gap. Their self-esteem runs on whether they're getting laid. Others have a void they're trying to fill, or they're bored and they chase this next hit, and the cycle just goes on forever. And for some guys it's even simpler. They can't bear the thought of being alone, so they settle, and being with women just becomes another distraction, just like everything else on this list. So like everything else on this list, this requires being brutally honest with yourself. If you do have these issues, it's fine, it's normal, but you have to be aware of it and then change it. And this brings me on to this last one, which is also hard for guys to admit: emotional leaks. And people don't really connect this to time and energy, but your emotions, and specifically how you manage them, impact this much more than people realize. Think of it like a backpack you carry everywhere. Unprocessed emotions are like bricks. They add weight and everything feels heavier as a result, and you tire more easily. And this can be things as simple about getting frustrated about small things in your day: traffic, slow Wi-Fi, queues, but it's also things that have built up for years that were left unresolved. Reactive and negative behaviors ingrained as a child, past trauma and rejections, baggage from old relationships, holding negative feelings towards certain types of people. All of these things run in the background. So what is the link between this and your time and energy? Every time something triggers these emotions, whether it's a memory, someone saying something, and so on, some part of you gets pulled into it, and you get irritated, defensive, distracted, and then you waste your time and energy thinking about these things. And every minute you spend thinking about these things, getting frustrated, is a minute not spent towards building the life you actually want. And it also clouds your judgment. You make worse decisions because of it. So it's tough to hear, but let go of the past. Close these loops. Even if you have to talk to a therapist, it's fine. And the key here is self-awareness, because you can only change these things if you're aware of the thought patterns in real time and then change your reaction to it. So those are the 5 leaks. Hopefully it's given you some insight into where your time and energy is going. And if you're thinking, how do I actually start fixing this? There's a link in the description to book a call with me, and we'll go through your specific situation and build out a plan. And if you want to start on your own first, the best place to do so is with your mornings. Your mornings set the tone for the rest of your day, and watch this video next to see exactly how to do this.